Hey, what's up, guys? Film recommendation. I actually had this uh, DVD for a while. Right? I finally got around to seeing this, and I can honestly say this is probably one of the best World War I films I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot when you get movies like The Big Parade and Wings. Uh, when you look at it, of course, All Quiet on the Western Front is okay. The original is pretty decent film. The '70s one with Ernst Borgnine is really good too, but obviously I am biased, so I prefer this one from the point of view of the Germans. It's actually directed by the writer, the man, right, Hans Zoeberlein. Right? He directed the film. He wrote a memoir. It was based on a memoir he had wrote, a 900-page memoir, which is a huge seller. Obviously, he was a shock troop veteran. Of course, he got some help in terms of the funding. Although apparently, when you look at the extras in here, this evil, horrible government needed to form a kind of like a some kind of company. Like they needed to form like a side company in order to be allowed to use the funds. It's amazing. Right? They were following rules. But right, this is the uncut version, and the film is. I mean, all joking aside on my part, it really captures what you read about when you read about World War One. Things in this film that you don't see in many others because it's very uncinematic. First off, the whole film from beginning to end is just an artillery barrage, just constant artillery barrages. You see things like, in this case, this is a Bavarian shock troop regiment. Apparently, German watchers of this film have noted the thick Bavarian accents of the actors involved. As you can see, Beppo Brem and Ludwig Schmid-Waldy. What cool names. But like I said, the whole film is a non-stop artillery barrage. You see things like the actual tactics of the Stosstruppen mentioned in terms of the throwing of the grenades, the long throwers and the short throwers, and everything there. You see a lot of sitting in very claustrophobic underground. You can say bunkers, but barely. As these week long, if not longer, barrages from the British uh, just continue on. You see the nerves of the men fray and the strain. And of course, if unlucky hit, they will all be buried alive. This is very unnerving. I've never seen a film really cover that. Of course, like I keep saying, like a third of World War One is essentially German soldiers being blasted in trenches by the artillery. Right? And the battle scenes are realistic. You don't have like one guy killing like 10 guys by himself. You don't really see that. You see the teamwork, the tactics, the fog of war, the scene with the British Mark IV tank. I don't think I've ever seen a film where the actual tank, and it's not a model. Some people say, oh, that's model, looks realistic. It was an actual tank. It was the actual tank. I guess the Germans had their hands on it. One of the many they had captured probably during the war. The scene with it was pretty amazing. Probably the only real anti-tank action you saw in a movie up to this point. Of course, you don't have a ton of that yet, but it's coming in the next decade for sure. The extras inside were actually pretty cool. This film was released in the United States, had good ratings. Obviously, there's not like here it was censored. Of course, there's banned in Deutschland. Uh, you know, what are you afraid of? But there's this scene here when the guy's dying. I won't give it away, but there's a scene where he asks the other man a question. His comrade, he asks him a question about the war, what he's been hearing back home, and of course this guy's like, nine, no, in a lot of ways you could argue too, like, oh, you're an anti-war guy. Well, this is, and this of course this is one of the quandaries, or should I say, one of the interesting facets of anti-war novels, or what are perceived as pro-war stories, like say this guy's memoir, or let's say Ernst Junger's memoir. And in some ways, this is probably the closest thing you got to a Storm of Steel movie. Um, the irony of all these anti-war films and these so-called pro-war films is that there's nothing in this that is glorious at all. You see what these men go through. It's less than thankless. It's literally hell on earth. Okay, um, so and of course the Christmas scene at the end where you see uh, the scene with the dying English soldier. It was very well done, very sentimental. This was, you know, it's hard to explain what I'm trying to get across. In terms of it's a, you can say it's a patriotic film, but it doesn't glorify anything. Okay, everyone knows Germany in the First War tried to make peace several times, just like in the Second War, and this was not. Their opponents did not want to. They didn't. They were willing to. No, no. We will have more of our own men die to defeat you until we defeat you. Not like the wars of the past in Europe. So you can understand. If you're German, what are you gonna do? You're gonna keep fighting, right? Are you gonna give up? Yeah. Anyway, uh, just a great film. And another thing that I thought was very interesting. Of course, this might be controversial, what I'm about to say, but the director, who was the World War One vet, who also directed the film and wrote the memoir it was based on, all that. After the war, or you could say, right after the war, he was a werewolf. What? What are you confusing these films with the Universal horror films? No, he was a werewolf. And he and his comrades actually killed a bunch of traitors after the war. Okay, which he was convicted for, but he was released from prison less than a decade later. So I don't know, man. I call that a win. Anyway, I call that a success for Mr. Zoeberlein. Anyway, don't take my word for it. You can watch this. There's many. YouTube has this all over the place. Unless you're in Deutschland, it's probably banned. So because you can't have this, because it's so evil in it. It's a fucking joke. If not, you could probably watch it. So, and it is highly, highly recommended. Okay, and all joking aside, of course I'm not only half joking, but all that stuff aside, man. Even if you have a conventional view of the conflicts of the last century, uh, it's still a very, even-handed, great film. Yeah, with all my stuff, my biases aside, like I said, I'm descended from these people. I lost 7 male ancestors in that first war, so yeah, I'm biased. But regardless, recommended.